Okay, welcome back to CBS News 24/7. Say it with me now. Election Day, 1 week away. You're going to hear that rhyme quite a bit today as candidates make those closing arguments to undecided voters, especially in those key battleground states. So Vice President Kamala Harris preparing for what's being called her closing argument speech, and former President Donald Trump wraps up his remarks from Mar-a-Lago. We have those comments from Mr. Trump in just a moment. But first, CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joining us now on the stream. You've got an eye to that planned speech in what is really a hot-button area, a hot-button location in our nation's capital. What is the significance there?
That's right, Reed. I'll be on the National Mall for hours tonight, and it really is an interesting choice. You know, D.C. obviously is not a battleground state, nor are Virginia and Maryland, the two neighboring states. But she is doing this event here, her campaign says, for a couple of reasons. First of all, she wants to draw a contrast with Donald Trump. She wants to remind voters that the last time Donald Trump was speaking in that very location, he was whipping up his supporters and telling them to fight, and fight they did. Down on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue at the U.S. Capitol, which was the start of the insurrection. But beyond that, they say that her message is going to be actually an optimistic one, sort of a closing argument where she's going to make the case that while Donald Trump continues to nurse grievances, while he continues to focus on himself, that she is focused on the American people. And what better place to do that than with the White House as a backdrop. It's also meant, I think, Reed, to convey a sense of comfort and familiarity for voters who want to be able to envision the person that they're electing right there with the White House as a backdrop. She obviously would be the first woman if she's elected president. She'd be certainly the first woman of color as well. And so it's all about the majesty of the environment that she is going to be in, trying to convey to the American people, hey, look, I'm right at home here.
All right, so we are also seeing some of the fallout from comments about Puerto Ricans during Donald Trump's rally there in New York over the weekend at Madison Square Garden. Kamala Harris reporting a bump in voters who have a heart for Puerto Rico. Do you think that this bump could translate to other Latinos in the United States? Because that is a very powerful voting bloc.
It is indeed. And the campaign has made no secret of the fact that they are hoping that some of those voters will come her way if they weren't headed her way already, particularly in battleground states like Pennsylvania, which has a large Puerto Rican community. She was just on a radio program this morning with the Breakfast Club, sort of touting her longtime support for the Puerto Rican community, talking not so much about Donald Trump and what was said at his rally, but more about her message to Puerto Ricans. The fact that she was pushing for more funding for the island after Hurricane Maria, and of course touting some of the big names in entertainment who are showing their support for her, including Bad Bunny, and J-Lo.
Bad Bunny with a big fan base there. Okay, Nancy, I'm not letting this go. I keep bugging you about this every time we talk. Are you and your campaign reporter peers going to get that power nap I keep prescribing to you?
As Tim Walz says, Reed, we will sleep when we are dead. We've just got 1 week to go, and then we don't have to deal with this for another 4 years. So there'll be plenty of time for that.
I have a feeling you all wake up every morning and go, 6 days, 5 days, 4 days. That's what it's going to be like. Nancy Cordes, thank you so much. We always appreciate having you. So let's talk about running mates, running out the clock. And she just talked about him, Governor Tim Walz in Georgia. Also, J.D. Vance in Michigan. Walz will make his first pitch to voters in Savannah, Georgia, finishing the night with a rally in Columbus. J.D. Vance zeroing in on voters with a rally in Flint, Michigan. He took questions from local reporters. We were able to grab this tape from just a moment ago. This is what he had to say to voters in the battleground state of Michigan.
Every year since 2008, Saginaw County and Michigan have voted for the eventual winner of the presidential election. So for the path to 270, how important is it for your campaign to carry Saginaw County and Michigan?
Look, it's extremely important. Michigan is one of, if not the very most important battleground state. And to your point, Saginaw County is a very important part of the state of Michigan. But I think the folks here in Saginaw County, our argument is very simple and very direct. Do you want to go back to the peace and prosperity of Donald J. Trump, or do you want to double down on the failed policies of the last 4 years? Because when you don't have to agree with everything that I say, you don't have to agree with everything that Donald Trump says. But when you look at the 1.5% inflation when Donald Trump was president, when you look at the fact that take-home pay was rising as fast as it had in 40 years, you look at the fact that the border was closed down and the world was more peaceful, I think a lot of Americans would just like to go back to the prosperity and the peace of Donald Trump's leadership. And that's what we're fighting for. So I feel very good about Saginaw County. I feel very good about the state of Michigan. Of course, the voters will make the ultimate decision, but I think the voters of this great state are going to vote for change. They're going to vote for peace. They're going to vote for prosperity. They're going to vote for Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
All right, so listening to Senator J.D. Vance, who, if he and his ticket win, would be vice president of the United States. Listen, you're going to hear candidates on both sides of the aisle making all kinds of assertions from those podiums in the days to come. One tool for you on social media, follow CBS Confirmed, our team working very hard to confirm the veracity of these assertions made from these podiums. Just one thing, information is power. Meantime, Donald Trump dealing with the fallout from racist comments about Puerto Rico over the weekend at his rally at Madison Square Garden. People still angry. They want to know what, if anything, he will say about that very issue every time he steps to the mic. So we've been watching every time he does. This is from moments ago at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Listen.
I'm announcing that for the first time under my administration, we will be seizing the assets of the criminal gangs and drug cartels. And we will use those assets to create a compensation fund to provide restitution for the victims of migrant crime, and the government will help in the restoration. The government will help in the restitution, but something has to be done, and we're gonna get it done.
So let's talk to CBS News political director Fin Gómez, breaking down these remarks and more. You got to hear the totality of what he had to say. Is this just quintessential Donald Trump? He has the potentiality of inflaming that Latino voter base all over the United States after what happened, the comments about Puerto Rico, and yet you see him there doubling down.
No, that's absolutely right, Reed. I think that what you saw there at the Mar-a-Lago press conference, there was this expectation that he was going to address the uproar, the firestorm, if you will, that was caused in Madison Square Garden at that rally on Sunday. I attended that rally, and it was, you did hear this racist rhetoric, this inflammatory rhetoric that has continued to have legs. It's now been a couple days since that rally, and this is what we continue to talk about, and we're seeing on the campaign trail. He did not directly address it. He did call it a love fest, Reed, and he also conversely, Reed, attacked Kamala Harris and called her campaign a campaign of hate. He also referenced the fact that he's in a span of 3 months there was 2 assassination attempts, and it's essentially implying that it was caused by the rhetoric coming from the Harris campaign. We do expect the former president to address this at Allentown in Pennsylvania in that crucial corridor at an event later today.
So let's talk about Allentown, Pennsylvania. What are we expecting to see there above and beyond the current headlines? Do we think Donald Trump is going to try to capture other headlines and maybe divert attention away from what was said at Madison Square Garden?
That is, I've covered Donald Trump for over 10 years. I think that's sort of his SOP, is to sort of distract and deflect and to sort of refocus on his opponent. And I think that is what we do expect to happen in Allentown. There is some reporting that there may be some Puerto Rican supporters of his at this event. The Trump campaign has touted that they've made inroads in that crucial battleground state, not only there, but in other crucial battleground states like Arizona and Nevada, with that big voting bloc, Reed, and that could decide this tight election race. Now, in Allentown, that is the center of the Latino corridor, the 222 corridor, where the majority of the Latino population in that state resides, and the majority, of course, are Puerto Rican descent, Reed, and of course those inflammatory jokes, those racist jokes that were made on Sunday were, of course, directed at that crucial voting bloc. There's some in the Harris campaign who do believe, Reed, that this could move the dial and could benefit them in that race with just a week to go until Election Day, Reed.
So many things to look at. Fin Gómez, and by the way, my brother, I see you. I am a glasses for distance, but man, you put that paper in front of me, I got to drop the glasses like you just did. Thank you so much for always helping us to see.
By the way, Reed, I just want to say that you're talking about that power nap earlier in an earlier segment. I do plan to take a power nap, and as of right now, like it's all systems go. We just got 1 week left until this huge election day.
Yeah, this report and many reports by campaign reporters brought to you by coffee. Fin Gómez, political director for CBS News. Always a joy to talk to you.
He's my best friend.
Well, watch election night from the entire CBS News team live, power nap enthused from New York, and with our teams spread out all across the country, and especially in those battleground states. We've got real-time results, analysis, and exclusive polling. And yes, we take the glasses off when we need bifocals. CBS News 24/7. You can also see coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS.